This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, it's Yud Gimel Nisan, and it's almost time for Bedikas Chametz. Let's review a few important halachos that are relevant to Bedikas Chametz. The Mishnah says in the beginning of Pesachim, Arli Yudaled Boidkines HaChametz Ar Haner. The night of the 14th, we check for Chametz by the light of the candle. Says the Gemara in Daf Daled, Nivdoik Mitzafra. Why do we check in the night? You can't see anything at night. Check in the day when there's daylight. Amar Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says, B'shash v'nei adam mitzvim bevateim. Most people are available at night. Most people are home at night. People have more time to be able to check at night. That's why we check at night. Also, Varhaner Yafa Bedikat. The light of the candle is good for checking. So the Gemara seems to be saying two reasons. One, practical considerations. People are home. And number two, number two, the light of a candle is better for checking, and therefore we are koveya it at night. Says the Mishnah Barusim and Taf Lamed of Katan Gimel. Since we need to check the chayrin ustakin, the cracks and the crevices, and daylight is not strong enough to penetrate the cracks and the crevices, so therefore we need the light of the candle. So they were koveya to check at night because the light of the candle is more penetrating in the night than during the day. You can't check during the day, the daylight doesn't get into the cracks. So you need to use a candle. Once you have to use a candle, they were koveya at night. So now the question arises, if you need to use the light of a candle, and they were koveya at night because the candlelight penetrates more at night, one would think then one should turn off the lights in the house to do Bedikas Chametz. Especially because the candlelight would penetrate more if the lights are off. And in fact, Rav Sternbach in the Haggadah Mayadim Uzmanim, in Hilchos Bedikas Chametz, Ois Aleph writes that the lights should be turned off for Bedikas Chametz. However, in the Sefer Hilchos Pesach, Rav Shimon Eider, he writes on page 86, he heard from Moshe Feinstein, you do not have to turn off electricity. Why? Rav Moshe said, the more light, the better. Likewise, in the Sefer Orchos Rabbeinu, Hilchos Pesach, Ois Vav, the stipler did not turn off electricity. Halicha Shloime Parakeh Dvar Halacha Yotes says Rav Shalom Zalman Kishadoylek Ar Chashmal B'Bayis V'Shas Habedika Ein Tzarich Lechavosah. You do not have to turn it off. Okay, so therefore Halacha L'Maisa, we do not turn off the lights for Bedikas Chametz. Contrary to popular opinion, we do not turn off the lights. What about, is it permitted to use a flashlight for Bedikas Chametz? So in Rabbi Eider's book, page 86, he writes, it's permitted to use penas chashmali, a flashlight, with a bracha. And he heard from Rav Aaron that in fact you can make a bracha on a flashlight. A flashlight is loy gara miner, it's no less than a candle. And in fact he writes, he heard from Rav Moshe, it's adifa miner, a flashlight is better than a candle. In the Sharm HaMetzion B'Halacha, B'Shlomo Zalman Brown, he brings down, even according to the poskim that you cannot use electricity for Friday night candles, you can use a flashlight for Bedikas Chametz. However, says Rav Brown, Yisrael Kedoshim, Jewish people are holy, and we hold steadfast to tradition. It's a mitzvah that comes once a year, and therefore we should do it the way our forefathers did it, Ba'ar Haner. But he does write that Rav Aaron Kotler also agreed that a flashlight is okay for Bedikas Chametz. Likewise, Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach writes that if you're not able to use a candle, you can use a flashlight. However, says Rav Shlomo Zalman, if it's possible to use a candle, it's not correct to use new innovations, but rather you should check it in the traditional way. However, Rav Moshe said, no, a flashlight is better, and Rav Aaron said it's just as good. And therefore, Rav Eider in his book has a very good advice and a very good mahalach in Bedikas Chametz, and this is what, in my humble opinion, I think this is advisable and recommended as well. And that is start off with a candle. Therefore, at the beginning of the Bedika, you're doing it in the traditional way. And after a short while, I think for safety reasons and precautions, especially, unfortunately, we've heard stories, I think it's advisable after a short while to put out the candle and to use flashlights, while according to Moshe, you could have used a flashlight all along, and according to all poskim, it's kosher l'chadchila. So this way you're yotzei all the days. You start with the candle, but to avoid any hazard, you continue on with the flashlight, and that is the best course of action. And I wish everybody a successful Bedika and a Chag Kosher v'Sameach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.